We are at the Chattanooga Charles C. Coolidge Medal of Honor Heritage Center. There is a film for us to watch. We'll sit through that, watch that. Now we're going to watch the film. That door over there is closed, and this door over here is open. We'll walk you through, take you through the gallery. Now we gotta wait a couple minutes for this to start playing. So let me tell you a little bit about Chattanooga, Tennessee. Chattanooga, Tennessee was the site of the first Medal of Honor to be one of the first Medal of Honors to be awarded. You may go check out the cemetery. That may be a separate video later down the line. So, we'll wait on this. Alright, that door should be closing here in a minute. And there it goes.
The Medal of Honor, the nation's highest military decoration for valor. An award bestowed on those individuals who went above and beyond the call of duty. Each and every recipient was and is just an ordinary American who found themselves in extraordinary circumstances. Most, like those with whom they served, came home. Others made the ultimate sacrifice. Since the outbreak of the Civil War in 1861, 41 million Americans have served in our nation's armed forces. Of those, just over 3,500 have been recognized with the Medal of Honor for their distinguished service to the country. There have been 19 who were decorated twice. 2 pair of father and son, and 1 woman.
Thank you for your years of service.
It started here, in Chattanooga, back in 1862, when a daring mission by a group of volunteer Union soldiers was undertaken to go behind Confederate lines and capture a locomotive just north of Atlanta. Their objective was to disrupt the enemy's lines of communication, while an advancing Federal Army captured Chattanooga, all in an attempt to hasten the end of the war. Dressed as civilians, they knew they could easily be hung as spies if captured. Yet all of them, to the man, were willing to take the chance, to endure the hardship, to accept their fate. Including Jacob Barrett, just 18 years old. However, their mission failed. All 22 men were captured. story does not end there. Jailed first in Chattanooga, some were tried, found guilty, and executed. Others escaped. The remaining survivors were finally exchanged as prisoners of war. Today, they are recognized as the first recipients of the Army Medal of Honor. Andrews Raiders, with young Parrott having the distinction as the nation's initial recipient. Their story is one of patriotism, courage, commitment, citizenship, integrity, and sacrifice. The 6 character traits that we associated with each and every Medal of Honor recipient. One only has to look as far as our nation's Medal of Honor recipients to understand and appreciate the meaning of character. Most will tell you that nothing they did is any different than those they served with would have done, that they did not deserve any distinct recognition. Yet each upholds the importance of the medal and what it represents. While we respect the past, at the Charles H. Coolidge National Medal of Honor Heritage Center, we are equally focused on helping shape the future. Our goal is to inform and inspire the next generation of heroes through our character education programs, whether in the classroom, the fire station, the athletic field, the boardroom, or here at the Heritage Center. We explore the meaning of patriotism, citizenship, courage, integrity, sacrifice, and commitment.
Oh, how beautiful.
In sharing the powerful stories of Medal of Honor recipients, we all discover ways to be better citizens, help others, and create lasting positive change in the world. During your visit here to the Heritage Center, you will experience the stories behind just a handful of our Medal of Honor recipients. Most were born in Tennessee. Others fought within the state. All made an impact on the lives of every American by their service to the nation, both in war and at home. And it all began on a rainy day in April 1862, a few miles down the tracks.
Happy birthday for him at his house? Yes. He would go run with us.
Take a picture of it all again. Yeah, get on the other side with the picture together. Here, you want a picture?
No. No, okay.
Oh, okay. What is this?
One of the first early designs of the Medal of Honor.
See, I get very sentimental and stuff.
Another version of the Medal of Honor. The old German maxim. Yeah. A model 1917. Expeditionary uniform. This over here is cool. Check something out over here. This is a recreation of the Hindenburg line. Usually that works, but I guess it don't work for the camera this time. Alvin York. Now we're into World War II. This picture is, I believe, of the two destroyers, or it could be Arizona. buddy here is gonna see if he can do the exact knot that Doss did. He's better at tying knots than me. That's good. This is Desmond Doss's uniform. That's his medal. You saw that? Let's go check out something over here. There's something pretty cool over here. Search thing up. This is cool. You guys should recognize that name. That is General MacArthur's father. Here we'll check it out. Stand Ridge, we've been up there. Not much up there now. But this is, I believe, Cobra? Definitely not an Apache.
Well, on the night of 18th June 1968, we were conducting what we called a area recon. We were a four-man team. I was an assistant team leader. We got our mission and we went looking for trouble. And trouble found us instead.
We'd been doing recon, and there was a team of LRPs, long-range reconnaissance patrol, that we'd been supporting down almost to Saigon. They were down on the river, and somehow at dark, all of a sudden Charlie started opening up holes and coming out, and then they called us.
This night, we expected to do nothing but recon. We'd only gone maybe 150 meters, and all of a sudden the team leader who was walking ahead of me stopped, and I got down next to him. He cupped his hand in my ear and said, "We got enemy all around us." We had approximately at least 2 platoons and maybe a company taking a break, it looked like. We even saw a couple flare-ups, somebody lighting a cigarette. They didn't expect anybody, let alone Americans, to be out there in the middle of that rice paddy. So at that point, we knew it was a tough situation. We'd been in it before, but we had never been totally surrounded. Fortunately, we were at a terminus of about 2 or 3 cart paths, and it was about 6 foot wide road top. So we got in there, and behind it, we're going to make our stand and call for help. We'd called our forward operating base. Well, they were scrambled, and on the scramble, they've got 5 minutes to get in the bird, strapped in, helmet on, and in the air, and heading towards the contact site. So that's at the point where we called for help, and that turned out to be Taylor.
We were in a big field about the size of a football stadium, and they were at one end, and the river was right there, the Saigon River. Back behind them, there were several hundred North Vietnamese regulars, and they were surrounded. They said, well, tell Mom I love her. I think this is it.
Larry was in D Troop Air, 1st Squadron, 4th Cavalry. He was coming to us in an aircraft that we seldom seen. It was a brand new AH-1G Bell Cobra attack helicopter.
That's the most fun you've ever had with clothes on, no kidding. It's so sleek and so fast and so sensitive. You think it, and it's gone. That was the best ship that the Army had at that time.
This fight was going on 30, 35 minutes. Each of us riflemen, myself included, had started the fight with about 330, 350 rounds of ammunition, which is about double the standard load for an American infantryman in Vietnam. What we carried is what we got, so we went heavy. By that time in the fight, we'd blown off 4 of our claymores for the close-in enemy. We'd shot most of our rounds. We're down to a single magazine per guy, and Taylor and his wingman, they too were getting close to being done.
You and your Cobra would carry 152 rockets and 16,000 rounds of ammunition. And the only problem I ever ran into was that was not enough. You could shoot that up in no time at all.
Taylor and his wingman, between them, had about 3 or 4 seconds of fire left. So knowing that they were almost out, there's not going to be any relief coming, no extraction ship, no additional gunships. And if they left us, we weren't going to be there. Not alive at any rate. He was expecting also to get a relieving force of Cobra gunships. Turns out they weren't on the way. They were committed to other units up north in another fight. We were also supposed to get an extraction ship. They were going to extract us if Larry could carve a big enough hole in the enemy encirclement for them to come in for us. Well, Larry was told they're not going to be here because they had a comms problem, total loss of communications. So there's not going to be anybody there in time to do things as we normally would try to make an emergency extraction. Larry determined that the situation was bad and it was only going to get worse. Taylor called in. He said, I think I got a plan to get these fellas out of there. I'm going to go in there myself on my ship, land, and I can get them out of there. Well, somebody, I believe it was a colonel, a fairly high rank back in the base camp, says, no, can't do that.
He said, well, they're trying to escape and evade. And I said, sir, there's no place for them to escape and evade to. Well, you leave them, don't try to pick them up. I said, yes, sir. And the first thing I did, I called him. I said, get ready.
He was told again, says, don't do it. Don't attempt to get them out of there. Your ship is a gunship. It has no cabin for them to ride in. Taylor said, I'm going to try. And they kept telling him, no, once again, don't do it. He switched channels. He cut them out of the fight. Captain Taylor had our general position. As he came over and we made contact, we hear Wildcat 2, which was our radio call sign. This is Dark Horse 3-2. Dark Horse 3-2 was Captain Taylor. We said, yep, got it. You just went over top. So he said, okay, close but not close enough. I'm going to need you to mark your position.
And I said, well, why don't you just pop off a flare, pop off a star cluster there, that's where I can locate you.
We didn't want to do that, but we certainly wanted to help, and Larry needed to know exactly where we were. He said, when I say go, hit him.
So as soon as they popped it off, I shot the power and landed, and they looked at me like, what do we do now? I said, you better get on the damn ship.
Got to the helicopter. He said, okay, jump on. And I looked at, what do you mean jump on? Where? He said, we got 10 seconds, and that's all we got. You find a place to sit. By that time, of course, we knew it was not a standard gunship. There was no internal cabin. And Con and I just looked at the rocket pods, which stuck out in front of the little weapon sponson, little short wing they suspended from. He said, ride like a horse.
I said, you better grab a hold of something. You're going to fall off of this damn thing, and I'm not looking for you if you do. So he grabbed hold of something.
I was on the outboard rocket pod. Billy was on the inboard. Billy tapped the side of the fuselage. Ellsworth tapped it with his rifle, and Taylor knew we were on board.
We just pulled it straight up to about 3,000 feet. We're out of small arms range. Of course, Charlie shot at us, but he didn't hit us because I had all my lights turned on.
Once he was safely away, he took it back down on the deck and proceeded to white knuckle it at about 50 knots down to Chattanooga Air Force Base. There's a water treatment plant there. So he swung out over the Dong Nai River and he proceeded down about 10 miles.
We were just sitting out there, Warren in Texas. He had his legs wrapped around the rocket pod. He'd bang on the side of the window and he'd go, yeah!
But once he got there and he was in safe territory, he turned on his landing lights. We were in the middle of a wagon wheel of armored vehicles, so very safe at that point.
Landed, they jumped off, and then they all four turned around and saluted and disappeared into the dark.
We couldn't talk with them. The antenna was broken and the radio was no longer operating. The only thing we could think to do is to get off the helicopter, run around the front of it, stand in his landing lights, and just pop a quick salute, a thumbs up. Good job, thanks. And he took off, and that's the last time I saw him for 30 years.
When I got back, the commanding officer said, what possessed you to do that? And I said, well, it needed doing, sir. He said, well, you can't beat that for an answer. And I said, no, sir. He says, how many did you lose? And I said, none. He said, well, I told you not to go get them. And I said, you want me to take them back? And he said, well, no. And he shut up. I didn't hear anything else about him.
Captain Larry Taylor, he pulled other missions. I had 3 more missions before I went home. I went home about a month later. The war went on, and everybody continued to do what they had done before that night. It was just a mission, just a very different and exciting end to it, but a favorable end.
Somewhere, at some place, there are people who are depending on you to make the right decision. You're committed to the troops that you're supporting, and you're committed to the troops that are supporting you.
Helicopter pilots will always be my heroes. And Larry, of course, a superhero. Everything he did that night, though he was told not to, was what you'd expect from Larry Taylor, particularly after I got to know him later on. He operated under his own motto, leave no man behind. And he lived up to that. Thank goodness he did. So his attitude was, this is going to happen, or I'm going to die trying.
The President of the United States of America has awarded, in the name of Congress, the Medal of Honor to First Lieutenant Larry L. Taylor, United States Army.
You know, the scriptures tell us that no greater love had the man than to lay down his life for his friends. Larry Taylor didn't lay down his life that night, but he was damn sure willing to do so.
Here is his Medal of Honor. This is what the fire base, the fire basically looked like. I actually had a grandfather in Vietnam. My grandfather was on the little PBR boats running up and down the rivers. My grandfather was Navy. Blonde hair. I give that shout out to my dad. When September 11th happened, my dad was aboard the USS Enterprise coming back from a cruise. And when the towers were hit, the ship got orders to turn around and go into the fight. Very time for all of us. These men and women fight for your freedom. You gotta remember, our freedom has to come from something, and the cost isn't free. Next time you take your freedom for granted, remember, these men and women that went out there and laid their lives down on the line for you. Now we're going to finish the West Museum. That's what the outside looks like. Did you know that there was a Medal of Honor awarded for space? Yep, that exists. We'll walk out. That, folks, is the Charles H. Coolidge Medal of Honor Heritage Center. We'll go check out the gift shop too.
At one point, a few years after I got out, I was determined I was going to.
I got some stuff up on this house I wanted to show y'all.
You'll re-inspire yourself to build another helicopter.
I want to thank the museum staff for making
Have a
this
good weekend.
an amazing museum. That, folks, Medal of Honor Heritage Center. Building looks like.